Welcome to the Oopa Loopa Cafe, a place where storytellers gather, where old sailors relive their travels, where shamans and mystics reveal their esoteric secrets, where mammoth are hunted and cave walls are turned into art galleries. Some visitors here bring the detective skills of Sherlock Holmes. Some bring ancient tools found in the backyard. Some bring insights into how ancient people lived, loved, died, and were buried. Much of what you will see and hear in this place you won't find in a history book, but you should. This is the Oopa Loopa Cafe, where the heroes of old come alive and legends live again. A place where history is exciting. A place where adventures begin. Come with us and explore.
And welcome to the Oopa Loopa Cafe here on the 30th of January 2013. I'm your host, Rick Osmond, and we have a number of good stories for you today. In particular, we have one with this guy. This is Jamal Igle. Actually, we have two with Jamal Igle. He's a comic book artist, but that's such an understatement. I mean, he's beyond being a comic book artist. He's one of the premier comic book artists. And throughout second and third segments today, we'll have a couple of different clips with him. The second one was a second part of an interview that I did with him over 2 years ago. But it's worthy of watching again. The other one, and the one in the second segment, is actually done by someone else, and it's also quite a showcase for the man's talent. So, Jamal Igle. We also have another story about the CSS Hunley, Confederate steamship at that time, but it wasn't steam. It was actually manually powered. Anyway, the USS Hunley has been recovered from Charleston, South Carolina harbor. And then we have the story of this lady. This is Queen Beatrice, or Beatrix, depending on how you want to spell it. Queen Bee. At least she's queen until April, Queen of the Netherlands. And she's abdicating the throne to her son. Her middle son is actually comatose. He was the victim of an avalanche while skiing. So she's had a bit of tragedy in her life. Lost her husband, and for all intents and purposes, lost one of her sons. And she has been the glue that has held the Netherlands together through some of their worst times, at least in living memory. So the people of the Netherlands will miss Queen Bee quite a lot. But most of them are ready to see how her son does as the king of the Netherlands. Also, his wife, the son's wife, will become Queen Maxima, and she is extremely popular to most of the folks in the Netherlands. Also, we have the Off the Wall segment. I think you'll enjoy it quite a bit today. It's actually from the Young Turks, and it has a follow-on clip after it. It's self-explanatory. But in our immediate future is a visit with the sheriff of Milwaukee County. Stay with us.
I'm Sheriff David Clark, and I want to talk to you about something personal, your safety. It's no longer a spectator sport. I need you in the game. But are you ready? With officers laid off and furloughed, simply calling 911 and waiting is no longer your best option. You can beg for mercy from a violent criminal, hide under the bed, or you can fight back. But are you prepared? Consider taking a certified safety course in handling a firearm so you can defend yourself until we get there. You have a duty to protect yourself and your family. We're partners now. Can I count on you?
This safety message brought to you by the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office.
Well, that particular sheriff is dealing with 48 members of the Sheriff's Department being laid off due to county budget cuts. And he's also in a big fight with the county council, the county board, whichever it is, over those budget cuts and a few other things. It's getting kind of nasty, downright politicking type stuff. But at least he has his head together, because when the public safety is endangered by budget cuts, then he encourages the populace to take it upon themselves to protect themselves. And he's probably 100% correct on that. Now, this is quite a segue. It's not even a segue. It's just a complete jump. This particular lady is the figurine from a cave 26,000 years old, according to radiocarbon dating. And the carving is from a mammoth tusk, ivory, basically. And the archaeologist slash anthropologist slash whoever is actually studying this thing are convinced that this is the earliest art to date in Europe. But the oldest art known actually goes back about 100,000 years in Africa. So it's kind of up in the air about where that's actually true. The oldest art could be a lot older than that. We just may not recognize it as art, but somebody did. Now, in a couple of days, Friday, when we have my buddy Wayne May on the show, I'll be showing you some images of carvings in stone that are actually symbolic symbols, symbology, characters, writing perhaps, but certainly they represent abstract thought, just as the figurine does. So that's good enough. I mean, that's interesting, right? But when you also learn that 18 of the same figures are found on all of the occupied continents, and that they are maybe as much as 15, 20, 25,000 years old, that's when it starts getting a little confusing if you went to school for archaeology, anthropology, or history, because they'll tell you that people did not know how to do that back then. However, this carved head testifies differently to the power of abstract thought among early humans. Homo sapien sapien. But the other thing that is also common with sites of that age, archaeological sites, is they find hemp. Now, hemp has been actually a matter of agricultural cultivation for at least 5,000 years. But they also find that in some of the ancient sites, they were using wild hemp to weave early, perhaps as much as 9,000 years ago, perhaps even earlier. The age of the art, the science, the technology of woven fabric, the date just keeps getting pushed further and further back, which is okay with me. But hemp is also kind of the subject of our Off the Wall today, and its follow-on clip. It's actually 2 clips, and they're pretty good. The first one is the Young Turks taking on the numbers. Just go by the numbers. And like with all things, follow the money, because that's where it all ends up, is in the money pot.
So, Americans, what do they think about the war on drugs? Well, we got some indication of that because in Colorado and Washington, they just passed ballot initiatives legalizing pot, not just medicinal marijuana, but overall. Well, Rasmussen, which is a conservative polling organization, just did a poll, and they're going to show us, of course, that most Americans are not in favor of that. Are we winning the war on drugs? So, obviously, most Americans will say yes. What happened? Only 7% of Americans believe we are winning the war on drugs. 82% believe we're losing, and 12% are confused. 82% believe we're losing the war on drugs. You know why? Because we're losing the war on drugs. Look, it got officially launched, as Anna has explained in the past, in 1971. Nixon was like, all right, let's do a war on drugs. In fact, he commissioned a report. The report said, no, it's actually not as bad as alcohol.
Yes, the Schaefer report. You guys should definitely look into it. Because Nixon himself commissioned that report. Governor Schaefer did the report, which proves it's not as bad. Nixon took it, ripped it up, and said, I don't care. I'm still going to be strict when it comes to drug policy, especially on marijuana.
Now, what has happened in the meanwhile? Right now, our cost for the war on drugs is estimated at $20 to $25 billion a year. But that does not count prosecution and incarceration for drug offenders, which is the lion's share. So even not counting that is costing us a tremendous amount of money. Now, are we spending too much or too little on it? Well, the jury's in on that as well. 23% say not enough, and 34% say we're spending too much money on it. Again, there's a significant chunk that are confused. Okay, now, how about alcohol versus pot? You know, the thing that Nixon got the report on and then threw it away anyway. In fact, in Colorado, they ran all these ads saying, hey, you know what? This alcohol is no different than pot. And a lot of people believe them. It turns out nationwide, I'm actually the most surprised by these numbers. When they asked dangers of alcohols compared to marijuana, 51% said alcohol is more dangerous. Only 24% said pot is more dangerous. Once again, 24% confused.
Yeah, let's discuss that for just 1 second, because I know we've brought this point up before, but how many people have died from alcohol poisoning versus the number of people that have died from overdose of marijuana?
You know, as far as I know, there literally are no cases of marijuana overdose.
There's no such thing as dying from a marijuana overdose. I forget the exact number, but there was one politician who looked into how much pot you would have to smoke within 5 minutes in order to die, and it was like pounds and pounds of marijuana. Like, it's impossible to even consume that copious amount of marijuana in 5 minutes.
If you ate anything of that much in that amount of time, you would die.
Yeah.
Okay. In fact, you literally couldn't do it. Your stomach might explode. So it just doesn't, it's not true. And what's great about that is that that's it. The American people are onto it. They're like, yeah, after all these years of lie on top of lie, propaganda on top of propaganda from our government, we've had enough. We know alcohol is more dangerous. Pot is less dangerous. We know we spend too much. We know we're never going to, quote unquote, win this war on drugs. And here's one last interesting thing. 88% of respondents hadn't smoked pot in the last year. So it's not like these are potheads who are like, yeah, man, I just want to get high. They're people like us. I haven't smoked pot in the last year, and I just don't smoke it, right? It's not that I've never smoked it, but I never got a high off of it. I don't care, so I don't smoke pot. That's not why. It's asinine. That's why I'm against the war on drugs. And let alone what this doesn't survey, which is the 50, 60,000 dead people in Mexico because of this insane war on drugs, which I know Americans are like, Mexico. But I care, and a lot of people in this country care about what we're doing to other countries with our insanity on war on drugs. But as I look at this, Anna, I think tick-tock, tick-tock. We're going to win. They're going to lose. We're going to legalize.
And this is where I do my best Billy May impression. But wait, there's more!
Investors, politicians, lobbyists, and business people with bright ideas for making a lot of money gather in Seattle. Legalized pot is here, and so are the opportunities for turning the crop into cash. And that is what drew a crowd to a new kind of business confab. Growing pot will be a growing business in this state, and so will everything to do with the newly legal drug. How you consume it, how you package it, how you track it through the system, and more. Plenty of ideas looking for seed money.
This is the next great American industry, and we have an opportunity to do something amazing with that. That just doesn't happen every day.
Troy Dayton and his investors group listen to 6-minute sales pitches by potrepreneurs all day long. Investors ready to ride the rocket when the marijuana business takes off.
At 1.7 billion, growing to 8.9 billion by 2016. And that's some amazing, amazing growth.
At a National Cannabis Industry Association meeting tonight, the city attorney turned out. The mayor mayor spoke. Government leaders rubbing elbows with some of the captains of this emerging industry. An unusual scene, perhaps, but as the mayor told us earlier, what was unusual is now normal.
I mean, this is a trade organization that's asking an elected official about the lay of the land as it affects their industry.
But no one is really... Chris Walker works for a Swedish company that makes lighting systems for indoor farming.
We have a patented technology that allows us to actually read the information coming off the plants via a camera and sensor.
A system that will sense what marijuana plants want and deliver the lighting spectrum they need. He's hoping investors will deliver what he needs, $1 million plus to fire up U.S. operation.
A lot of new money coming in, a lot of exciting products. We're legitimizing an industry that's been in the dark.
Now, Troy Dayton with ArcView says it was a fantastic day for his investors group, and they heard a lot of good ideas. He also warns potential investors that this is not necessarily a get-rich-quick industry because of all the legal and regulatory challenges still ahead.
So let me see if I get this straight. We're spending $25 billion a year to fight drugs, and Washington State alone expects to bring in $16 billion in taxes and license fees in basically 2 years. Why are we doing this? I mean, anyway, stick with us. When we come back, we'll have more of Jamal Igle, and we'll also have the story about the Hunley. And I don't think we'll be seeing any of these guys, although anything's possible around here. Anyway, Rick Osmond on the Oopa Loopa Cafe. And welcome back to the Oopa Loopa Cafe. Here in our second segment, we're going to tell you the story, some of you probably already know it, of this ship. Well, this submarine. Well, this kind of prototype submarine. This is called the Hunley, after the man who provided all the funding and most of the engineering to actually make it work. And the Hunley was a submarine. It was truly a submarine. It held 8 crewmen, and it was intended to deliver a torpedo or stationary mine or something to take on the Union blockades in the various harbors. Now, in the case of Charleston Harbor, the Hunley was actually successful in sinking the Housatonic. That's this ship here. And she went down pretty fast. Blew a hole in the side of her that, according to eyewitness accounts, a couch floated out through the hole sideways. So that was a pretty big hole in the side of a ship, any kind of a ship. But the Hunley also sank. And it's often been a mystery, long been a mystery, of why she went down, because the eyewitnesses said that she was 100 feet away from the Housatonic when the explosion occurred. However, recently they have recovered the Hunley, and it is being studied in great detail. And one of the things they found was that part of the torpedo was actually still attached to the rig that they put on the Hunley. So the Hunley blew the Housatonic while she was still there. So the interesting conundrum then is, did Hunley and the rest of the crew go on a suicide mission, or did they simply not understand the physics of blowing up 136 pounds of black powder 20 feet away from you? Well, the Hunley was a cast iron ship, so when the blast occurred, certainly some of the seams gave way, and the Hunley probably just foundered and sank right then and there, and all 8 men died. They'd all drowned. But it's often been debated on whether it was simply engineering foul up, or did they truly so desperately want to sink one ship that they gave up their lives for it. well, that's almost like some of the Al-Qaeda tactics. But I don't think that's what they were after. I think they simply did not understand that you had to be further than that boom would breach before your own craft would survive that kind of an explosion. A number of years ago, the U.S. Navy experimented with just how big an explosion can a battleship stand very close to it. Some of the photographs survived, particularly, I believe it was the Missouri. And it is an amazing amount of explosives in proximity with comparatively minor damage to the ship. The people's a little different story. Any kind of explosion has that kind of concussion, can injure people. And speaking of injuring people, our friend Jamal Igle, you may remember him from a couple weeks back. Anyway, he's back with us today, and this first clip, I actually have two clips with Jamal. This first one is a documentary, I guess, of his style in drawing Wonder Woman. Yeah, Wonder Woman. Pretty cool. So, Jamal Igle, take it away.
And a nice guy.
Yeah, that's what Gary said too. I was amazed how he's been able to crank out 2 books regularly, non-stop the last year or so.
Yeah, he's a beast. He really is.
Is this color for Photoshop?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you work on Supergirl? Or you?
I'm the art. Yeah. Well, I just finished my my run, but yeah, I was the artist on the book for 2 years.
It's the big leagues. DC Marvel. I still got it. Oh, you still got it. Okay. You haven't picked it up yet. No, I have not.
I think it's about $10.
Oh, very nice. Thanks, sir. Very nice. Do you scan it in, or do you draw everything on a tablet and color it?
No, I scan. I don't do the coloring myself. These are all colored by different colors. I'm primarily a penciler.
Yes.
Excuse me, sir, what's your first issue on this run?
34.
34.
That's a good long run, eh?
Do you have to buy these?
Yes, they're $10 each.
Thank you.
So what do you think we're doing your for roughs? HB pencil or blue pencil?
When I'm doing it depends. If I'm doing finished pencils for somebody else, I'll start HB and then I'll finish it. I'll start in blue rather, to just to give a structure, and then I'll do the final pencils in HB. But it's the same thing when I'm doing sketches at a convention. It's easier for me to just do the blue and then just go straight to ink because I don't have to do that extra step.
Right.
Of making it inker proof.
I see. Well, with me, I'm usually the guy with the blue pens. I use blue leads for everything, but I don't know. I guess I tried recently to do, like with HB pencil, and I find it tricky actually. I mean, because
you have to be really clean, and I'm very heavy-handed. So it makes it really difficult for me to just use the pencil, or just to use an HB pencil or just a regular lead pencil without doing the non-photo blue over it first. The thing is when I started out, I was just using the normal pencil, and then when I started working in animation back in '99, then I got into using blue.
Right.
And then I've been using it ever since.
I see.
Working on that right now? Okay.
And I guess I'm more of a delicate kind of artist, you know, the fact that I'm just, I don't know, with me, it just, I try to think ahead, like every single time I take on a project,
Right.
and it takes up the most time preparing for it. You know, revving myself up and
Right.
having an idea in my head. And when it comes down to actually applying it, I feel like I have to be as delicate with the ledge as possible because I mess up.
Well, you know, don't worry about messing up. You're always going to mess up. I mean, I'm the last person to talk, you know, because I'm just completely anal about, you know, my working habits. You know, there's so many different stages of planning that happen when I'm doing a comic book page. It's a little bit insane. So, you know, I'm doing thumbnails, I'm doing layouts, I'm doing, you know, I never go straight to the board. You know, I lightbox everything. When I'm doing a page, by the time I get to the lightbox stage, I've pretty much worked out all the base figures and all the perspective and the background.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, becomes, you know, an issue of tightening everything.
All right.
You should put your stuff on comicartfans.com. They have a Wonder Woman monthly gallery, and now this month is Wonder Woman.
I look at Comic Art Fans every so often. I don't have an account. You know, I'll leave other people to do that. I've got enough stuff that I have to maintain between DeviantArt and Facebook and my blog.
Yeah. I still can't master DeviantArt. I mean, they say that they put the you're allowed to put your prints up for sale, but I haven't heard having a goddamn sale once.
Neither have I. Don't worry about it. But I don't But the thing is I don't put a lot of prints up, high res prints up on DeviantArt just because a lot of the stuff that I do is for DC, and I don't want to ruffle any feathers.
Right.
By trying to sell prints separately. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
$10.
Darius, what do you think of the new Wonder Woman costume?
I think it's okay. I think it fits the story.
Yeah?
Yeah. I haven't really formed a final opinion. I like it, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if I would want it to be like that permanently, but I think there's a happy medium for it. Yeah. But it fits the story, you know?
I heard Straczynski's leaving the book because it was a costume of Superman Earth 1.
Right.
Yeah, so, and the same goes for his Superman storyline, Grounded.
Yeah.
So, it's hard to say how both those storylines will wrap up without his...
But they've got good writers coming on board. You got Phil Hester on Wonder Woman and Chris Roberson on Superman. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do.
Yeah, I love the last Superman issue, though. I mean...
Hi. Sure. Of course.
We did with a bit of child abuse, and that was amazing.
Yeah.
I may have seen that one yet, or
Did I see the 704, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
I did see that. You know, the cover of the kid with the black eye.
Yeah, I did see that issue.
Just let me sit outside that room and buy it.
And then even I want to tear that bastard apart. And you see the anger in Clark's face as going up the stairs.
Oh yeah.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Now, I certainly admire the talent that Jamal has, particularly for the characters that he does, because he's kind of careful. The only character I do is that one. So, I'm nowhere near his level of talent. I don't have a whole lot of talent, but I do go at it now and then for artwork. At any rate, stick around. After the break, we'll have some more with Jamal Igle, and that is part 2 of the interview I did for ICTV with him. And welcome back to the Oopa Loopa Cafe here on the 30th of January 2013. Well, here in this third segment I need to talk just a little bit about MegaCon. Now, MegaCon is a comic book and cosplay and a lot of other stuff going on in Orlando the weekend of March 15th, 16th, 17th, I think it is. And I will be in attendance. Now, I won't be seeing Jamal Igle there, I don't think. At least he's not on the guest list. But I will, I think, meet up with Neil Adams. First time to ever meet face-to-face. And perhaps also Patrick Stewart. You know, the star Captain Picard of Star Trek The Next Generation. And several motion pictures as well. They will be on the guest list, you know, the highfalutin guests. But there are also panels and a number of other events occurring at MegaCon. Now, this is actually on a full trip. On Sunday of that weekend, I'll actually be performing, acting, and my role is as a barber, wow, in an independent motion picture. The name of it is Ashley's Shadow, and that's about all I can really disclose. However, the story is written by Charlie Carlson, who is also the writer of Weird Florida and the star of Weird Florida on the Road. You may have seen the trailer that I played here on the show several weeks back. At any rate, yeah, I'm going to have a part in a movie. Kind of a weird part for me, but then it's kind of a weird movie in a kind of a weird place with kind of weird characters, which is why I'll fit right in. But it's Ashley's Shadow and targeted for release for Halloween, but I don't know where they stand in the schedule on that. So, kind of exciting weekend for me. Road trip. Now, Jamal Igle, as you saw in the last segment, can draw just about anything. He's particularly adept at drawing female figures. And in this next segment with Jamal, he's actually discussing some of those. Now, this is part 2 of 2. I ran the first part a couple weeks back. For folks who watch regular, you know that. But if you missed that one, you can actually go to YouTube and just look for me, and you'll find it on YouTube. Of these about 80 videos that are in 77, I think, that are on that channel. Be 78 later tonight. Anyway, you can find part 1 in there, and if you want to catch up with Jamal, you can he actually does a little bit of fan mail, but he is kind of overwhelmed at times. So, and he is worthy of fandom, I think. He is an excellent, excellent penciler. So Jamal Igle, Part 2. Stick around. We'll be back right after these.
You're watching Invest Comics TV.
Okay, and this is Rick Osmond for Invest Comics TV, back for Part 2 with Jamal Igle. And Jamal, after you've done so many years of work with DC, and you also did quite a bit of work with Marvel at what was basically a bad time in your life until it was over. Now it's a good time in your life. And you've also worked with Image. What did you do with Image?
Well, I worked with Jay Ferber again on some stuff for his creator-owned series, Noble Causes. And I did a couple of stories for him and a cover or two. But what came out of that is we ended up developing our own creator-owned series called Venture. And the idea that we ended up pitching to Image for Venture was, what if Jimmy Olsen were blackmailing Superman? So the idea behind Venture was about a man named Joe Campbell, who we hinted at but never really got a chance to explain was actually an immortal. And not only was he an immortal, but he was Hercules. But not only was he Hercules, he was also Cuchulainn. He was the hero with 1,000 faces. Right. So he was the being that all of these heroic myths were based on. And one of the stories that we were going to do was his origin, which explained that at a certain point in his life he actually became Achilles. So he in the series he would go around, rescuing people, saving people's lives, but he would always manage to stay, out of the news, off camera, unseen for the most part, until he gets accidentally photographed by a tabloid reporter. So this reporter basically blackmails him into putting on an actual superhero costume and, going out and doing his thing anyway. So the series didn't last. The sales weren't that good. We were trying to do it in color. It was just really expensive. We ended up only doing 4 issues. So that was the bulk of the stuff that I did over at Image. And, again, it's more opportunity than anything else. Like I said, somebody's always managed to keep me busy. So
well, that says a lot about the talent they perceive and the respect for you that they have, and I think that's understandable. Now, you have a couple of current projects, correct?
Right now, I'm doing some writing work on the side, but my main focus right now for DC is I'm going to be taking over Zatanna, starting with issue 11. And actually, unofficially, my first issue of Zatanna just shipped this past week with issue 9 because I did a 8-page backup story that was written by Adam Beechin. Wow. A little Zatanna story. It was Zatanna as a 12-year-old in the 1980s chasing down a crook at the mall.
Wow.
So, but I don't want to give away the hook of the story too much, but she just got her first set of braces. Okay. So that causes all sorts of problems for her during the story. And it's a quick little, 8 pages, very funny. There's a lot of visual sight gags, but it's cool.
Well, I'm guessing, and this is just a guess on my part, but wouldn't drawing braces be a bit of a challenge?
Especially with what happens in the story, yes, it is a little bit of a challenge, but I'm good with detail. So.
Okay. Glad to hear it. I'll try to find that one because that sounds interesting. We need to take just a little bitty break, and we'll come back and talk about what's coming up on your horizon.
All systems are functional.
And get past the range to Mr. Jackal, the new king of radio.
Is there life on other planets?
This is nuclear physicist
patent treatment, and now I'm a voice in the jackal's head.
It's the government keeping secrets from us.
This is Stephen Bassett, and I am now a voice inside the jackal's head.
Want to find out more? Listen to the Jackal's Head on the Soup Media Network.
The biggest trick the Jackal ever pulled was to convince the world that he doesn't exist.
Alrighty, and we are back with Jamal Igle, and we're going to talk a little bit about what you have in process and some of the things you have coming up.
Okay. Well, right now I'm working on my first official issue of Zatanna. I'm actually almost finished with that. I've got a few more pages left, and that's Zatanna number 11, and that'll be out in March. And then, for the most part, like, I'm still working on screenplays, still putting some stuff together to pitch to DC. But other than that, it's just getting ready for con season. Going to be doing, see if I remember the entire list. I'm going to be doing C2E2 in March in Chicago. Then after that, I'm going to Heroes Con in June. San Diego, I'll be at San Diego in July.
I envy that.
Yeah. They're actually, like, they actually made me a special guest this year, which is, you know, pretty cool. Humbling. Yeah, it's nice. It's really just, I'm still, actually, when they called me and they invited me, I was like, because I was having a really bad day, I was like, am I being punked? What's going on? No, I checked it out. It's real. Let's see what else I'm doing. Baltimore Comic-Con in August, possibly doing a show in September, and then New York Comic-Con in October. And then there's like smattering of signings and stuff still being worked out. But, I'm getting around this year. And then, as far as work, it's just Zatanna for the time being.
Well, I'm sure that's enough to keep you busy.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that you have a deadline coming up on that one, so I'm not going to keep you much longer. You've already extended for me, and I certainly appreciate that.
Well, it was fun, Rick.
Well, I'll look forward to any time you have some time. Just give me a ring up, and we'll chat or do another interview, or any time that you have something you need to announce, you get a hold of us.
All right, sounds good, man. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Jamal. We'll talk to you soon. Here's a riddle for you. What do the California gold rush of the 1850s, secret societies, coded messages, mysterious 19th century flying machines, and an early 20th century outside artist named Charles A.A. Delshaw all have in common? The Secrets of Delshaw by Dennis Crenshaw and Pete Navarro. Go to www.secretsofdelshaw.com to learn more.
Greetings, Earthlings. I am for the planet Zordon. Watch my friends, Dennis, Crenshaw, and Rick Osman, on unraveling the secrets, right here on the Soup Media Network each Saturday at midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific, and each Sunday, at noon, Eastern. They will bring you interesting guests and information from all over, about, or inside your pathetic little planet. Oh my. I've misplaced my tinfoil derby.
Well, it's always fun when Jamal is around. Nobody belly laughs better than he does. But I kind of got a grin on my face when I got an email today from a very lovely lady that was our guest here Monday, and that would be Cindy Cashdollar. Now, Cindy sent me this email, and it says, "Hi Rick, what a fun show, and thank you for the link." I sent her a link for the YouTube. "You did a great job with the interview, syncing images and music. Thanks for having me take part. Definitely the cool place to be. I absolutely love the coffee mug image at the end. Your ad here is what I think it said. It was a bit of Austin in Indiana. The love of the left of center and music. Going to be a fun destination gig once your new place is up and running. Best to you." And thank you, Cindy. That was a lovely email. Now, a little bit about the place, just a little bit. It is going to be a brick and mortar version of the show. It's going to have a lot of interesting and odd things, both displays as well as merchandise, and it will be a working cafe, Oopa Loopa Cafe, as well as American steampunkery. You've seen allusions to that one on this show before, but it will be coming into its own over the next year or so. I'll keep you informed on that and maybe have a few images here shortly. At any rate, coming up later this week, we have another interview guest, and his name is Wayne May. Wayne will be with us on Friday. Wayne is the publisher of Ancient American Magazine and has been the publisher since, I believe it was 1992. At any rate, Wayne is a great guy. I love meeting up with him at conferences and whatnot, and I think I will be meeting up with him again in Columbus at the Midwestern Epigraphic Society Conference at the end of May. Wayne and I are tentatively planning, very tentative at this point, some outings in southern Indiana, southern Illinois, kind of in or near the viewing area, and hopefully we can ascertain a few things about the ancient life of Indiana and Illinois. There are a lot of intriguing things in the maps that the antiquarians of the late 18th century and early 19th century wrote about. That's kind of the things that are coming up on the Oopa Loopa Cafe later this week. I hope you'll join us tomorrow when we have more interesting stuff. See you then.
Yes.